Hi, Marianne here, and in this video I'm going to introduce you to 5 key factors that directly impact not only the progress you make on the journey, but whether or not you undertake it at all. Okay, I'm going to introduce them to you, and then I will unpack each one after the fact, all right? So the first factor is pretty obvious, and that's desire. Um, do you want to? And we'll look more closely at that in just a minute. The second factor is your intention that connects to your desire to undergo the self-mastery awakening process, to go through that. Okay? And I'll explain that too. The third factor is commitment. The fourth factor is self-discipline. And the fifth factor is tools. Okay, now let's take a look at each one. Desire is the source of your motivation and inspiration behind doing this work. It's the why you do this work. And 9 times out of 10, if you have a really deep, as they say, burning desire, more often than not, it is aligned with core self desire for this aspect of yourself, this mind-body complex, to undertake this journey. And to some extent, that also needs to be aligned with, although we have layer upon layer of distortions that can interfere with our ability to sense into this, it also needs to be aligned, at least to some extent, with the mind-body complex's desire, your ego's desire to do this work. And that does, as I said, tie into the second key factor, which is clarity and alignment of intention behind doing this work. Okay. At the basic level, what is an intention? An intention is, for most people, a conscious decision. A conscious decision to take one action over another, to choose inaction over action. It's a choice of action. It's a decision, a clear, conscious decision. However, when that decision is not aligned with what's really going on in the mind-body complex, ego, if it's not aligned with ego, what ego has in mind, then you can make intentions till you're blue in the face and things aren't going to happen. But in the case of undertaking this journey, intention needs to be aligned with core self's desire for you and intention for you in undertaking this journey, as well as with the higher order principles of this reality for creation. And I'm going to backtrack here a little bit and then I'll get back to those items. First of all, an example in day-to-day reality. Let's say you're in a relationship with someone, a committed relationship, but you've been having problems, struggles, things haven't been going very smoothly, and you make a conscious decision, you intend, you set an intention that you're going to do everything in your power to make the relationship work, whatever that means for you. Well, first of all, if that's not in alignment with what the other person wants, then it's all for naught. But beyond that, if your conscious decision, your intention is not in alignment with what ego wants or what core self intends for you in this reality, in this mind-body complex, then there is nothing nothing you can do can make this relationship work. And how that shows up, it could show up in several different ways. The relationship, you stay in the relationship, but you just, maybe you have some high points, but you also keep having the low points. Or things just get progressively worse, or the whole relationship blows up in your face and it's done. But that's why intention is really important. Understanding the source. What's driving your intention? Is it just a thought based on a distortion? Some false idea, concept, ideology, belief that you need to be in this relationship? And is that intention in alignment with consciousness, progressive service to others, practices? This your journey, is it in alignment with that? In other words, are the efforts that you would take to make this relationship work service to self or service to other? Consciously regressive or consciousness progressive actions and thoughts and behaviors? So that's right intention. You're clear about your intention behind this, and it's aligned with service to other, consciousness progressive principles. So what are some examples on this journey for outside of personal relationships and so forth? What are some examples of intentions that are not aligned with consciousness progressive service to others principles behind creation in this reality? A number of people get excited about, because this does happen with most people, it is happening, but oftentimes people are enamored by and caught up in the possibility of awakening to various abilities and powers, energetic capacities, and that's their true intention, not what they're telling themselves. They're telling themselves, they're conscious, their thought-based intention is telling them that they're doing it for all the right reasons. But upon a little bit of closer investigation, it is discovered that you really want to have some of these special powers, telepathy, being able to perhaps, we don't need to get into that right now, but that's just one example. Certain energetic capacities, things like that. That is not an intention that is in alignment with the higher order creational principles behind our reality. Okay? So that's why it's really important to get clear on intention and make sure that your true intention, not just what you're telling yourself, and we discover along the way, I've been through this, we discover when our intentions behind doing the work are not in alignment with either core self will desires or the creational service to other consciousness progressive principles of creation in this reality. And that can manifest in any number of ways. But generally speaking, I'm talking about it slows dramatically or stops your progress on this journey. It severely impedes it. Okay? All right. The third key factor is commitment. And only you, sometimes it takes a little help, but only you can ultimately determine the extent of your commitment to doing this work. In other words, your willingness to get in the trenches on a day-to-day basis and take whatever steps you need to be taking to progress on the self-mastery awakening journey. And you can get a good handle on what your extent of commitment is by looking at how you expend your energetic currencies. And the energetic currencies I'm talking about are your time and your energy. And both of those revolve around your attention. What's getting most of your focused attention, your time, and your energy? And for a lot of you out there, it would be your job, your career, whatever work you're doing to generate an income. That's not true for all of you, but for a lot of you, that would be the case. And oftentimes on this journey, we end up needing to make decisions, to make changes that ego doesn't want to make. And let's look at career, because that's a good example, your job. Now, the other factors that need to be, taken into place, I'm not talking about the 5 key factors. I'm talking about when you're looking at your job and the level of energy and focused attention and time you're devoting to that may be detracting from being able to devote more of those energetic currencies to doing this work, the work of awakening. And some of the things that you need to look at and be honest with yourself about are, first of all, is the work I'm doing consciousness progressive, service to others, or is it more service to self, consciousness regressive work? Are the efforts that you take, the things that you do on the job, consciousness progressive, consciousness regressive, service to others, service to self? And you really got to be honest with yourself here. Sometimes the industries in which we work are, generally speaking, more consciousness progressive, more service to others, or more, generally speaking, consciousness regressive, service to self industries. Okay? And remember, whatever we are participating in, we're contributing to, and that's what we're evolving through. So take a good hard look at the industry you're working in, and then the individual company that you're working for. Because just like with the industry, or the actual tasks that you're performing are serving a more consciousness progression or consciousness regression form of consciousness. And when you look, you can see. It's usually pretty fairly clear cut. Now, even if you determine that the industry or the company or the actual work that you're doing are pretty blatantly consciousness regressive, the industry, the company, your work, then I'm not suggesting that you run out and quit tomorrow. That's not realistic. Although some of you, I know people who have done that because when they really realized that, they knew they had to get out because they saw that it was so clearly impeding their progress on this journey that it was sort of a life or death decision for them. But I'm not recommending that you do this, but because you also have to take into consideration, for example, if you have children at home and you made a commitment to making sure that their physical needs are being met. But up to a point, if you're staying with this job or career because you're accustomed to a particular lifestyle, in other words, you could do with less, but you don't want to. Again, this is not a judgment. This is about being honest with yourself. And if that's what you choose and that's what you want, then by all means, keep doing that. But it's a direct reflection of your level of commitment to doing this work. And I've known many people who were in that situation. They were caught up in a lifestyle thing. But when they sat down with the spouse and even children and spoke of their true desires and intention about this work, this force that was calling, driving them, in most cases, the spouse and the children, if they're, of a certain age, understood, and they supported the partner, parent, in that. They were willing to take on a different sort of lifestyle that still met their needs, their physical needs and financial needs. And it was the individual themselves that were worried about being a disappointment to these other people that had been holding them back. And then there are times when the partner says, not no, but hell no. We work to get what we have, and I want to keep it. And that's a whole other situation to have to look at and work through. And I can help you with that sort of thing. But commitment, more than anything, is the extent of your willingness to make changes. Not just the changes that are going to occur, and they're going to, as you progress on this journey. But changes that you might need to make in order to be able to really take this journey, to really get on this path and get serious about it. So that's commitment. The fourth key factor is the S word, self-discipline. I know a lot of people don't even like to use that word. It just harkens all sorts of, I can't do this while restriction, real, robotic. But self-discipline is your friend. Self-discipline, in a nutshell, is consistency of effort. The actual things that you're doing to move along this path. And so many times, people just they just can't make themselves, they'll do some processes or some exercises or activities that support them along the way on this journey. But then other times they're just, I'm too tired, I don't want to mess with this. Well, I can tell you that if the first three key factors aren't in place, if there's no real deep desire or clarity of right intention or commitment, then self-discipline is out the freaking window. There will be no self-discipline here. But I've also known and worked with people who had the first three factors in spades, but they still couldn't find enough self-discipline to do the work on a day in, day out basis. And that ties directly into, and it tied in these cases directly into the fifth key factor, which is the effectiveness of the tools, the self-support tools, the exercises you're doing, the practices you're engaging in, the processes you undertake to support yourself in this work. If you don't have good tools that work for you, and the best tools are those, and they work for you because they're really in tune with your uniqueness, your unique needs, and your unique situation. They're practical. They're not complicated. Now, that's not to say that they don't involve serious effort and commitment on your part. But to the greatest extent possible, they're aligned with your uniqueness and your unique needs and situation. And those are the best self-support tools. And you can't really you're not going to make good progress without them. Even if you're a real, and everybody's journey is unique because every body is unique. Every mind-body complex is unique. And I would say, I've never met one, but I would say there are people on this journey out there that do things in such a way that, or they're at such a place on their journey that day-to-day activities aren't as much on their agenda as maybe they once were. But I'd say they're few and far between. Because even the great masters, the the teachers of our times instilled within their teachings the importance of self-discipline, consistency of practice, of process, of exercise, of activity, because we have so many distortions to work through, to clear, to get rid of. And we're so still pretty far removed from core self embodiment. There have been so many distortions that we've taken in ourselves, in the mind-body complex, that it's like trying to pull a freight train in the early stages of this process. It takes time and serious effort to build momentum. And the best way to do that is through self-discipline, consistency of effort. And if you're going to be consistent in your efforts, then it's much more practical to use tools that will more readily facilitate your progress. Tools that you can actually see, and more often than not, almost immediate results for your efforts. So tools, quality of tools aligned with your uniqueness are critical in this process if you intend to make progress. Okay, put another way, the rate of your progress on the self-mastery awakening journey is directly proportionate to the depth of your desire, the clarity and alignment of your intention, the extent of your commitment, the steadfastness of your self-discipline, and the quality of the tools you're using to support yourself along the way. Okay, got it? Great. If you're benefiting from these videos, I hope you'll share them. Tell your fellow awakening journey travelers about them, and also invite them to visit my website, because there's more information there and new information is constantly being added. In the meantime, I hope your journey is going well, that you're progressing, and I look forward to being with you next time. Take care.